My parents demanded I commit federal insurance fraud to protect my golden child sister after she smashed $80,000 of my professional camera equipment with a baseball bat. So I handed the security footage directly to the police and watched my entire toxic family go to prison. Growing up, my sister Haley was the absolute center of the universe. My parents paid for her out-of-state sorority, her luxury Euro trips, and her designer clothes while I worked 3 jobs just to pay for my own high school lunches. When I turned 18, they literally packed my bags in trash bags and told me they needed my bedroom for Haley's new purebred dogs. I slept in my rusted car for 6 months while I built my freelance photography business from absolutely nothing. Fast forward 7 years, and I own a massive high-end commercial photography studio downtown. I shoot for major magazines, and Haley is a 30-year-old unemployed brat still living in my parents' basement. Last month, she demanded I shoot her lavish destination wedding for completely free and also pay for her flights. I laughed and told her to leave my studio. She completely lost her mind. She came back that night with a metal baseball bat, smashed the glass front door, and completely destroyed my entire studio. She shattered $80,000 worth of custom cameras, lighting rigs, and servers holding irreplaceable client data. My security company caught her and she was arrested at the scene. The next morning, my parents marched into my ruined studio not to check on my livelihood, but to demand I drop the felony charges. My dad told me to just lie to the insurance company and say it was a random break-in. He said family protects family, and I was being a selfish monster for ruining Haley's life. I looked at the glass all over the floor and told them they were completely dead to me and refused to drop the charges. To retaliate, my parents hired a ruthless lawyer to try and seize my business assets, claiming they funded my startup years ago. But they made a massive fatal mistake during the financial discovery process. My lawyer and forensic accountant dug into their records and found out that my parents had been secretly opening credit cards in my name since I was 16. They racked up over $40,000 in hidden debt just to pay for Haley's lavish lifestyle while I was sleeping in my car. I didn't just sue them, I went straight to the federal authorities. Haley took a plea deal and was sentenced to 2 years in prison for felony destruction of property. My parents were both arrested for massive identity theft and federal wire fraud. They lost their entire house to pay for their criminal defense lawyers, and I used my massive insurance payout to upgrade my studio to a beautiful penthouse suite where I happily ignore every single collect call from the local prison.
My paranoid dad secretly installed a hidden dash cam in my car to catch me skipping school, but he accidentally exposed my mom's completely unhinged double life to the entire family instead. I am 17, and I just got my driver's license. But I am honestly the most boring driver on the planet. Last semester, I failed one single math pop quiz, and my dad instantly convinced himself that I was secretly skipping 3rd period to go joyriding with my friends. He didn't tell anyone, but he ordered a tiny motion-activated dash cam off the internet and wired it directly behind my rearview mirror. Last Sunday night, he called an emergency family meeting in the living room. My mom was sitting on the couch sipping her herbal tea and nodding along as my dad gave me this massive speech about trust and responsibility. He told me he had concrete video proof that I was lying to him, and he dramatically plugged a USB drive into our giant flat screen TV. I was sitting there sweating, terrified that I had accidentally run a stop sign, but I knew I had never skipped class. Dad hit play and the screen lit up, but it wasn't me in the driver's seat. It was my mom. She had borrowed my car on Wednesday because her SUV was getting the oil changed. Dad froze, but the video kept playing. The interior camera showed my sweet, quiet mother blasting early 2000s rap music and aggressively screaming every single explicit word to an Eminem song while violently drumming on the steering wheel. I literally stopped breathing. Dad frantically tried to grab the remote, but the video skipped to the next motion trigger. My mom was sitting in the Wendy's drive-thru ordering a massive double bacon cheeseburger, a large fry, and a chocolate frosty. Then she looked directly at her own reflection in the rearview mirror and whispered to herself, "Do not tell David he thinks we are strictly doing keto this month." I snorted so loud my nose physically hurt. Dad slowly turned his head to look at my mom. Her herbal tea was frozen halfway to her mouth, and her face was the exact color of a fire truck. Before anyone could speak, the next video clip autoplayed. Mom was sitting alone in the grocery store parking lot, aggressively practicing a fake argument with my dad's mother. She was pointing her finger at the empty dashboard, yelling, "Listen here, Susan, your potato salad tastes like wet cardboard, and your son loves me way more than he loves you." The living room went completely dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Dad was staring at the TV like it had just insulted his ancestors. I was biting my own hand just to stop myself from laughing. Dad slowly reached out and unplugged the USB drive from the television. He looked at my mom and quietly asked, "So, are we not doing keto anymore?" Mom didn't even blink. She just looked him dead in the eye and said, "Susan's potato salad is absolute garbage, David, and you know it." I didn't get grounded for the math quiz, and my dad never mentioned the secret dashcam ever again. Mom actually bought my total silence with a loaded Starbucks gift card the very next morning, and now every time she borrows my car, she makes sure to unplug the camera first.
At my son's 15th birthday, my golden child brother purposely knocked over and shattered my kid's brand new custom gaming PC and then laughed while my dad told me not to make a scene because it was just a computer. So I changed the locks on the townhouse I let my brother live in and left him completely homeless. I had worked overtime for 6 long months to build that $2,000 machine for my son Leo, who is an incredible straight-A student. We hosted the party at my parents' house, and my 28-year-old brother Kyle was there. Kyle is a massive man-child who has never held a job for more than 2 months because my parents constantly bail him out out. The second Leo unwrapped the computer, Kyle immediately demanded to play on it. Leo politely told him he needed to install the software first. Kyle rolled his eyes, grabbed the heavy glass tower right off the table, and purposely dropped it straight onto the hardwood floor. The glass shattered everywhere, and the expensive graphics card snapped right in half. Kyle just laughed and said, "Oops, guess it wasn't built very well." My son was absolutely devastated and started crying. I stood up and demanded Kyle pay for it, but my dad immediately stepped in. He told me to stop overreacting and said, "Don't make a scene. It's just a computer. You can always buy another one." I looked at my parents, enabling this almost 30-year-old bully, while my son cried over his ruined birthday present. A cold feeling washed over me, and I just smiled. "You are absolutely right," I said quietly. "It is just a computer." I packed up the broken pieces, hugged my son, and drove home. But what my parents conveniently ignored was the fact that Kyle lives completely rent-free in a luxury downtown townhouse that I personally own. I bought it as an investment property 3 years ago, and my parents begged me to let Kyle stay there for a few months until he got on his feet. He has been living there for 3 years without paying a single dime. That exact night, while Kyle was still partying at my parents' house, I drove to the townhouse with an emergency 24-hour locksmith. I legally changed every single lock on the front and back doors. Then I packed up Kyle's entire collection of expensive designer shoes and his massive flat-screen TV, left them in garbage bags on the front porch, and texted him a photo. I wrote, "Oops, guess you don't have a house anymore, but don't make a scene, it's just a building." My phone immediately started blowing up with calls from my brother and my parents. I answered my dad's call, and he was screaming at me to let Kyle back inside. I calmly told him to check the property deed because my name is the only one on it. I told my dad since it is just a computer, he can use his own retirement money to buy my son a new one, and until then, his precious golden boy is officially homeless. My dad told me I was destroying the family over a stupid piece of plastic. I hung up the phone and completely ignored them. The very next morning, I officially listed the townhouse for sale. Kyle showed up pounding on the door, begging to be let in, but I just pointed to the shiny new no trespassing sign and threatened to call the cops. I sold the property 2 weeks later for a massive profit and used a fraction of the money to buy my son the ultimate triple monitor gaming setup of his dreams. Kyle was forced to move into my parents' cramped basement, and they are already completely miserable, dealing with his constant daily tantrums. But my son smiles every single time he turns on his computer, and that is the absolute only thing I care about.
When I told my family I was marrying the billionaire heir to a massive hotel empire, they literally laughed out loud at the dinner table. My sister Sarah, the ultimate golden child who never worked a day in her life, actually rolled her eyes and asked how much I paid him to pretend. I was always the invisible scapegoat who paid the bills while Sarah got designer clothes and brand new cars. My fiancé Leo didn't want a traditional wedding. He wanted a massive Venetian masquerade ball at his family's historic estate. We sent the invitation, and my mom immediately started complaining, saying Sarah should be the one wearing the custom diamond tiara. The morning of the wedding, I was getting ready in the bridal suite when my mom brought me a glass of champagne. I took one sip and it tasted awful, so I poured it into a potted plant when she turned around. Good thing I did, because 10 minutes later, my mom and Sarah ambushed me in the bathroom. They literally took my phone, shoved me inside the heavy soundproof bathroom, and locked the deadbolt from the outside. I could hear Sarah laughing as she put on my custom wedding dress and my intricate lace mask. My mom yelled through the door that Leo wouldn't know the difference until the legal paperwork was signed. And by then he would realize Sarah was much prettier anyway. They left me locked in the dark. What they didn't know was that my custom engagement ring had a hidden panic button connected directly to Leo's private security team. I pressed it 3 times. Within 4 minutes, armed security kicked the bathroom door completely open. I didn't rush to the altar. Leo's head of security handed me a tablet to watch the live camera feed. Sarah was walking down the massive grand staircase in my dress with my mom smiling proudly next to her. Leo was waiting at the bottom. As soon as Sarah reached him, she whispered that they should skip the ceremony and sign the marriage license in private first. Leo smiled coldly and completely ripped the lace mask off her face in front of 500 high society guests. The entire ballroom gasped in absolute shock. He grabbed the DJ's microphone and announced that this woman and her mother just attempted to kidnap his actual bride and commit high-level identity fraud. My mom tried to run for the exit, but the massive oak doors were already locked by security. The local police walked right into the middle of the ballroom. Sarah started screaming that it was just a harmless sisterly prank as they slapped heavy metal handcuffs on her wrists. My mom actually tried to slap the arresting police officer and got immediately tackled to the marble floor. I walked down the grand staircase in my backup dress right as the police were dragging my mother and sister out of the estate in absolute tears. Leo kissed my hand. The crowd cheered, and we got married exactly 10 minutes later while they spent the night in a federal holding cell.